I drank Athletic Greens daily for over a year. I liked it a lot and it was extremely easy for me to make a habit. However, AG1 is not worth $95 a month to me anymore because I've found two alternatives that are at least as good and they're around $40. I can't say what will or won't work for you because we are different people. The only way to find out for sure is to try them yourself. If you're spending $90 a month on Athletic Greens, trying these other brands is a no-brainer. 2 years ago, I was skeptical that I could get quality nutrition from a powder like I could from eating real whole food. What got me to start AG1 was seeing that I was deficient in vitamin D and very low in B12 despite my healthy diet, seeing the ingredients list and realizing that there's no way I could eat superfoods like spirulina or milk thistle or get all the nutrients inside every single day. I figured with a money-back guarantee, I should probably try it out and see if it helps me. There is a lot of debate about the effectiveness of supplements. What I think most everyone can agree on is getting your nutrients from food is better than from a powder, but getting them in a powder is better than not getting them at all. The critics will say they get all their nutrients from their well-balanced diet, but most Americans have a nutrient deficiency somewhere. You can get blood work done to check, and you can try green powders for a month or two to see if your levels improve. You can also just see how you feel. What's in green powders are vitamins and minerals like you'd find in a multivitamin, digestive enzymes, probiotics and prebiotics that can help with your digestion, as well as adaptogens that might help your body recover from stress. Improving your digestion doesn't just mean your stomach gets less bloated, it also means you absorb nutrients more effectively. Your body is basically made entirely out of nutrients that you've consumed. Even your bones are made from food you've digested over the past decade. And on top of that, all of the energy that you will ever have comes from the nutrients you absorb. So if you can absorb nutrients more effectively, you're gonna feel better and have more energy for a long time. Green powders are not a substitute for eating healthy amounts of fruits and vegetables. If you start drinking greens and use that as an excuse to eat less fruits and veggies, you're definitely doing it wrong. But for example, last week I bought kale. I didn't eat it, but it did wilt in my fridge before I threw it out, so I actually did get more nutrients from the powdered kale. Point being, people sometimes fail to eat healthy by trying too hard to eat healthy foods they don't like the taste of. A healthy diet needs to be sustainable long term. Digestion begins at the sight and smell of food. Even just imagining a tasty meal will cause you to produce digestive enzymes. So if you're eating a food that's not tasty in the name of better digestion, you are being counterproductive to some extent. Having a daily green powder to raise my baseline level of nutrition allows me to stay more consistent with my healthy choices and buy food with broader goals of getting fruits and veggies in all the colors and avoiding factory processed foods. Experimenting for yourself is necessary to figure out what good nutrition means for you because everyone is different. It seems that for every study or article you read saying that some food or supplement is good for you, you'll see another that argues the exact opposite. Partially because it's almost impossible to design a reliable, large-scale, placebo-controlled study on nutrition, especially if you're looking for long-term benefits. And even if you looked at the most reliable nutritional study ever done, you'd likely find something that works for most people, or maybe the average person, but not necessarily for you in particular. Do you need to experiment to figure out if potato chips are less healthy than baked potatoes? No, because if you remove most of the nutrients from a food and replace them with salt and weird chemicals, you're gonna have a food that's less nutritious. Looking at the three brands that I'm comparing today, are you personally gonna do better with alfalfa powder, bilberry fruit extract and coenzyme Q10, or bitter melon, cinnamon, and gymnema extract, or amla fruit, broccoli sprouts, and cayenne powder? You're probably gonna have to try them out yourself. 3 things nobody tells you about Athletic Greens. Number 1, Athletic Greens makes basically no mention of the fact that there are fat-soluble vitamins in the powder, which means that these vitamins should be eaten with fat so your body can absorb them. The directions simply say to drink it on an empty stomach, and it's barely even mentioned on the website that you're supposed to eat a meal within 10 minutes after drinking it. I take my green powder first thing in the morning, and if it's gonna be more than 10 minutes before I eat breakfast, I might just eat a little spoonful of peanut butter or something. Number 2, you should keep your green powder in the freezer after opening it to help preserve the ingredients. If you keep it in the fridge or pantry, you will notice that when you open a new bag, it tastes different on day 1 than your previous bag did on day 30. Your green powder, especially the probiotics inside, will last longer if kept away from heat and moisture. Number 3, you might think that AG1 has 75 ingredients because that's what they told you on the website. The actual number of ingredients in AG1 is 49, and that includes stevia. Put them all into a handy dandy spreadsheet linked in the description so that you can easily compare to the other brands I'm recommending. There's actually 51 ingredients if you include natural flavoring. The other 24 ingredients are just vitamins and minerals that are contained within the ingredients. The main problem with AG1 is the price. These two brands are half the price. I've thoroughly compared the ingredients and tested them myself for the past 8 months. I don't think they cut any corners. I just think that Athletic Greens spends so much on marketing, they have to double their price to make a profit. Another issue is that they hide their dosages behind proprietary blends. In other words, they list a whole group of ingredients by weight, but don't tell you how much there is of each ingredient. They are required to list the ingredients in order from most to least, so you can make an educated guess with a little bit of algebra. I do prefer a product that just lists the dosages of all their ingredients. I'll give you an example. AG1 lists kelp as being famous for iodine, but kelp is the last ingredient on the list, so there's probably very little, and iodine is suspiciously absent from the left side of the label. Green Vibrance, on the other hand, clearly lists their 100 milligrams of seaweed powder containing 154 micrograms of iodine. Iodine is included in most multivitamin supplements and absent from most plant-based foods. So if you're vegan, this alone could be a deal breaker for trying Athletic Greens. The whole point of these powders is that you get everything in one shot instead of taking a pill for this and a pill for that. I also don't like how fine the AG1 powder is ground, because when you pour it, it literally flies upwards into the air and you have to try not to breathe it into your lungs, and somehow, despite being ground so fine, it still clumps up. When it comes to digestion, you gotta realize that there's billions of bacteria who are alive and they're all over you and they're in you, but they're not you, but they do eat some of the food that you eat. And if you feed the helpful bacteria, your microbiome will thrive and you will thrive as well. Modern society is very sterilized and our food is highly processed, and so we have less diverse gut microbiomes than our ancestors who let their kids play in the dirt and eat food that came right out of the dirt. Probiotics are living or hibernating bacteria that you can eat in fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, kombucha, kimchi. It is necessary that the bacteria are still alive by the time they get to your intestines to have any benefit. Shelf-stable fermented foods will not have viable probiotics because they're pasteurized. Probiotic supplements, on the other hand, do not always need to be refrigerated. It will say on the label, and third-party testers like Consumer Lab usually find that pills and powders have at least as many viable probiotics as advertised. A few studies have found that drinking probiotics from a powder mixed into liquid can have significant positive effects on the body compared to a placebo, including mental health benefits. It sounds reasonable to me because the mind and gut are very closely linked. However, there is no definitive proof that probiotics will give you a more diverse gut microbiome, which is the goal, or even if more species are better than less. Once again, I'll remind you of the two themes of this video. Number 1, it is better to get your nutrients from food, and 2, most of the science is inconclusive, so you're gonna need to try this stuff out to see how it affects you. Everyone's different. Even identical twins have different gut microbiomes. Green powders have not just probiotics, but prebiotics, which are a type of fiber that is food for the good bacteria in your gut that they need to eat to stay alive. Prebiotics are thought to be more beneficial for increasing the amount of good bacteria in your gut than actually eating the probiotics themselves, because prebiotics are non-specific, meaning they feed the bacteria no matter what types you personally have. Green powders also have digestive enzymes that your body uses to help break down and digest food. I've listed out the different probiotics, prebiotics, and digestive enzymes offered by the 3 brands in my spreadsheet, as well as the adaptogens. What is an adaptogen? Well, it's not very well defined or agreed upon, but adaptogens are basically plants that increase your body's resistance to stress and help you get back to homeostasis after experiencing mental or physical stress. I think a lot of claims about adaptogens are either sensationalized, or if you read carefully, they don't really make a lot of claims, like Siberian ginseng is an adaptogen that has been studied. Well, if you look at the studies, they generally conclude that they need to do more studies. While I can't say that these will help with your stress levels, I will say that they're very nutritious, very nutrient dense. You've heard of ginger, goji berry, green tea extract. These ingredients have been studied in powdered form and are generally accepted to be healthful, even if their status as an adaptogen is debated. I do like the strategy of combining a bunch of ingredients that are super nutrient dense and just taking a little bit of them every day. The one adaptogen I am hesitant to take every day is ashwagandha, because that's the one that claims to lower your stress hormone, cortisol. Having a direct impact on your hormones is where it starts to sound like a drug, where it might be bad to develop a daily dependency. Typically, if you rely on something external to do a job that your body is capable of doing, you start to learn that you can't really do it yourself, instead seeking or needing the substance. This is in stark contrast to getting essential nutrients, which are called essential because your body can't make them on its own, or at least in sufficient quantities. Personally, I think the best strategies for coping with stress are behavioral habits, meditation, therapy, regular exercise, prioritizing sleep, socializing, developing relationships. There's no magic pill or powder to replace these. Andrew Huberman himself recommends only taking ashwagandha for 30 days maximum, and only taking it in the afternoon or evening, because your cortisol is supposed to spike in the morning. But he also takes AG1 every morning, so he's probably thinking that this is more of a microdose. Nobody actually knows what the dose of ashwagandha is in athletic greens. I would guess that it's close to 50 milligrams based on its position in the ingredients list. The dosages in the studies I've seen are like 200 to 600 milligrams. Now, I know I said I don't drink green drinks for the taste. I drink them for the nutrients mainly. But they shouldn't taste gross. Again, digestion begins at the sight and smell of food. AG1 was easy for me to make a habit, and I was never tempted to have a cheat day. But there was one brand I tried this past winter that looked really good on paper, but just had so much stevia in it, I just couldn't stomach it first thing in the morning. I'd tell myself that I'd have breakfast and coffee, and then have the green drink, and then I'd forget, and I just kept skipping days. I just didn't want to drink it. So I realized that drinking greens without making a face was actually crucial for making it a habit. Of all the powders I tried, Peak Performance is by far my favorite in terms of taste. I recommend the sweetened version. It's just slightly sweetened with stevia. Much milder than AG1. It almost tastes like it has a tiny bit of apple juice in it. Some people say it's easier to digest than AG1 because they only use extracts of cereal grasses. It's 100% organic, which is also fairly uncommon. In terms of nutrient content, I can't say that it's better than AG1, but I certainly don't think it's worse. If there's anything on the spreadsheet that's a must-have for you that's missing from either of these two brands, please let me know down below. I would love to hear. Peak Performance does a 1-for-1 donation to Vitamin Angels. For every product you buy, they give a 1-year supply of vitamins to a child at risk for malnutrition. Biggest criticism I see of peak performance is the lack of probiotics. Personally, the probiotics are not the most important part of the green powder for me because I do eat fermented foods. I eat kefir all the time, which is basically yogurt with extra probiotics. If you're struggling to find the motivation to drink a green supplement, the price, quality, and taste of peak performance are pretty unbeatable. If you click my referral link in the description, you will get 20% off your first order, about $30 a month, closer to $40 for any future orders. To reach the $49 free shipping, you will have to buy a 2-month supply or 1 month and a bag of their coffee or something. There is a risk-free 30-day trial period if you don't believe me about the taste, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. This is the product that I am currently using, and the only reason I have to stop or switch is that I want to do more thorough testing. I'm going to talk more about that at the end. All the criticism about proprietary blends can be said equally about peak performance, which brings me to my next suggestion, which I do feel is the best on paper: Green Vibrance from Vibrant Health. This was the original green superfood powder created in 1992 and reformulated about 20 times. Green Vibrance does not hide their dosages behind proprietary blends. You can see exactly what's in there on the label. I like that they use flax powder for fiber because I think it is the best vegetarian source of omega-3s, which are severely lacking in the standard American diet. The 480 milligrams of flax in Green Vibrance provides about 10% of your daily value of omega-3s. There are also a ton of probiotics in Green Vibrance, 25 billion of them from 13 different strains. Again, this isn't the most important part for me, but it might be a benefit for you. Consumer Lab also found significantly lower amounts of lead in Green Vibrance than in Athletic Greens. I'm not saying that drinking AG1 will give you lead poisoning, but I do think it speaks to the overall quality control of the product. My biggest beef with Green Vibrance is that it doesn't have chlorella. Apparently they removed it during the pandemic because it got hard to source. It does have a lot of cereal grass extracts and other ingredients I like ginkgo biloba. Overall, I do feel like Green Vibrance is the most nutritious of the 3 powders. Certainly tastes healthy. It's not that the flavor is worse than Athletic Greens, it's just more taste. Not unbearable. Remember, there was another brand that I had to give up on, whereas I'm planning to do another 2-month stint of Green Vibrance. The blueberry is my favorite. The chocolate is decent. The unsweetened one is... It's bearable. It is pretty annoying that the flavored ones are more expensive. They look like they're the same price, but they only have 25 servings instead of 30. I guess you could do a little less than a scoop every day and make it last the whole month. They also have a version with protein powder if you're into that. If you click my link below, you will get 25% off Green Vibrance, which comes to $43 a month with free shipping. You can cancel or renew your subscription at any time. As you may have noticed, I am not your doctor. I have no clue if you're taking medications that will interact with any of these products. I'm also not telling you that any of these products will be good for you. I do feel like they've been very good for me, and if you want to find out if they have benefits for you, you'll probably have to try them out yourself. They are in no way a replacement for healthy eating, and if you eat less greens because you are drinking greens, you're likely doing your body harm. Full disclosure, all 3 companies did send me free product, but the 2 brands I recommend I have been paying for with my own money to continue using. My plan moving forward is to test out different brands for 2 months at a time and do blood work to back up these self-reports of how I feel. If anyone knows a mail order blood work company, definitely throw that down below. Again, it's better to get nutrients from food than from a supplement, but it's better to supplement than to not get your nutrients at all. You'll most likely need to test these products out for yourself to see how your body reacts.